Hello YouTube, how is y'all's day going? Today we have another updated mock draft. I'm going to be trying to post a little bit more, especially with draft time coming right around the corner. A lot of very interesting takes, a lot of prospects sliding up, a lot of prospects sliding down. So some pretty interesting things here, it's getting to an exciting time of the year. So I'm going to be trying to rapid fire as many mock drafts as I can. If you guys are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. It would be greatly appreciated. We haven't even hit 100 subscribers yet. Also, make sure you are following the TikTok and Twitter. The links will be down below in the description. Not much else. Let's get into this. All right, so first off, we have CJ Stroud going to the Carolina Panthers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, what do you mean? Frank Reich just publicly came out and said Bryce Young is going number 1 to the Panthers. I think it's smoke, and here's why. Because a lot of people are also going to go, what do you mean smoke? They have the number 1 overall pick. They can select whoever they want. There's no reason for smoke. The Carolina Panthers had to trade a lot to get to number 1. And with that being said, I think that something tells me, or at least they're testing out the theory, something tells me that they know that the Texans would prefer Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. And I think that the Panthers are trying to see if they can get the Texans to trade up to number 1. I think the Panthers do prefer CJ Stroud, and I think that the Texans do prefer Bryce Young. So if they can convince the Texans, hey, we're going to select Bryce Young, then the Texans are going to trade up, and then the Panthers will trade down just to number 2. They'll both get the QBs that they want, but the difference is that the Panthers are going to be getting some picks back in return, obviously for trading down, and since they traded so many away, they're getting some back. It just makes logical sense. I think that it is smoke. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think CJ Stroud is overall the consensus for QB1. You do have a lot of Bryce Young people out there, but, Stroud is the best QB of this class. So, number 2, you do have Bryce Young going to the Houston Texans. Bryce Young is still a great QB prospect. A little bit of question on the size, of course. But overall, very talented player, very great scrambling ability. Knows how to pass the ball. Just, he's a great player, so still worthy of that number 2 spot. And then number 3, we have a trade. And that trade is going to be the Seattle Seahawks moving up to pick 3. So the Cardinals trade pick 3 and the Seahawks trade pick 5, a 2023 second, pick 37, and a 2024 second. And then they trade a young wide receiver in Derek Young. I kind of just threw Derek Young in there. It's kind of almost like a 6th round pick value, I would guess. But just because the Cardinals are kind of struggling with wide receiver depth, so just kind of really random, but it just kind of made sense in my head. So, I'm a big fan of that trade for both sides. One side, you look at the Cardinals, which I do think will end up trading down, whether that is, a draft day trade or before the draft. I do think the Cardinals will end up trading down because they are kind of entering a rebuild stage here. Not necessarily a complete scale rebuild, but they are entering a rebuild of sorts. I've heard people use the term retool. I agree with that one. So, and then people are going to say, why are the Seattle Seahawks trading up for a QB? I mean, look, Anthony Richardson seems like a phenomenal prospect. Everyone talks about his upside. His upside as a passer is great. He's a great scrambling QB. He's 6'4". This is somebody that the Seattle Seahawks would love to have in that system. I just know they would. And, Geno, then the conversation about Geno just got re-signed. Yeah, absolutely. But Geno's, I think, 37. I could be wrong, but I think he's 37 years old. This is not a 25-year-old quarterback where you have much more time with this guy. This is, an older quarterback that is playing to a great level, but it does not mean that they won't need that guy up in the future. So have Anthony Richardson, who is a rawer prospect, sit behind someone like Geno, who's very refined, to let Geno teach him these tools over the years, and then let Anthony Richardson take over the wheel. Makes a lot of sense in my head. Makes a lot of sense. And the Seattle Seahawks did a really good job this offseason. Even bringing back a guy like Bobby Wagner. So their defense looks much better, and they have another pick. I didn't even have them trading their pick. I didn't even have them trading their first round pick in this draft. So, yeah, I really like that pick, or I really like that selection for Seattle Seahawks right there. I think makes a lot of sense. And then 4, the Colts are a very quarterback needy team. I think they would love to have a guy like Will Levis. I think they would probably prefer Richardson, but there's been some questions about who they would prefer, whether it's Levis or Richardson, and I think they would be happy with either one. But like I said, I do think they prefer Richardson. But yeah, Will Levis, he's got all the traits that you'd want, physical traits, not necessarily all the traits, but physical traits that you want. He can make some great plays, but his decision making is a huge question mark. Maybe the Colts can work with that. Maybe they can. Maybe under Steichen that he might be able to help fix some of that. Another good thing that I want to point out is that Levis has, in a lot of his team meetings and workouts, he's been getting a lot of buzz about just kind of like who he is as a person. And that doesn't necessarily translate to his play, but it does help in locker rooms. He seems like a natural born leader. He seems humble, a very impressive young man from what I've been hearing. So, yeah, Will Levis going to the Colts, I think they would like a guy like that. And then 5, it's amazing that the Cardinals can trade down 2 spots and still get the guy that they want. It's just because these 4 right here are quarterback needy teams right here. So, I mean, I wouldn't say Seattle's quarterback needy, but they could use another one. So, yeah, trade down, get some picks on this retool, and get your guy still with Will Anderson. So, not much explaining there. It'd be great for the Cardinals. 6, I have the Detroit Lions selecting Christian Gonzalez. This one really, whenever I hear a Detroit Lions fan or anybody else get mad at me for this pick, this one really bothers me. Usually I'm just like, whatever, people have their own opinion, but people are like, oh, the Detroit Lions don't need corner. Like, what crack are people smoking? Like, you don't assign Emmanuel Mosley and Cameron Sutton, and all of a sudden you don't need a corner. Like, this is a top corner in the class, okay? Like, yes, they need edge, but I have them addressing that later on. They have 2 first-round picks. This is a top corner. This is a Pat Surtain level corner. Okay? You can select one of these edge rushers. They can probably be great for you. But Christian Gonzalez is undoubtedly the best corner of this class. So I've never really understood that. You get better at the position, and Cam Sutton seems like he'll probably play more of a slot role. Jeff Okudah is actually pretty solid, so maybe CB2, maybe CB3. But Emmanuel Mosley's got some injury history. Who knows how he'll fit with the Lions? And then people want to talk about, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't know what kind of role they're going to play him in. It seems like it'll probably be a slot corner because that's where he excels, but he's also a very good safety. So, yeah. I don't know. That bothers me whenever people say that the Lions don't need corner. That's just really foolish in my opinion. So 7, the Raiders. Yeah, I usually almost always mock Christian Gonzalez or offensive linemen to the Raiders, so I decided to switch it up a little bit. I had them going Lucas Van Ness. Yeah, I mean, look, the offense, they added some things here. They added, Jacoby Myers. They added, Jimmy Garoppolo. Brought back a couple of offensive line pieces. I think Brandon Parker. Brought back Josh Jacobs. So their offense is looking somewhat solid, but their defense has been abysmal for a while. Adding a guy like Lucas Van Ness, which I like to compare to J.J. Watt on that defensive line, I think will work very well. I mean, he's a freak athlete, very strong, huge potential, huge upside. So I do like Lucas Van Ness for the Raiders. I think that might be a very realistic pick for them, actually. So yeah, I have them going 7, 8. My Atlanta Falcons. I'm selecting Tyree Wilson. I'd be thrilled with this pick. I will just say that right now. I would be thrilled as an Atlanta Falcons fan with this pick. I'm a huge fan of Tyree Wilson. He's monster size. I think he's 6'6", 275. Could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I got that right. Monster. He is very raw. He's a raw prospect. But overall, great bull rush, good mix of moves. He seems like he could play 3 technique even. But very, very solid edge rusher. I like the versatility with him. I like a lot. I like a lot to do with Tyree Wilson. So I'd be very happy with that pick. And we are going on to the next slide. Okay, so we have 9. We have the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears need offensive line so bad. But I mean, dude, they had the number 1 overall pick. Jalen Carter was being mocked to them. He falls all the way down to 9. He's the best prospect in this draft. I think that in this scenario, they have to go Jalen Carter. It's not even about like what they need. It's about best player available, and Jalen Carter is the best player available. A lot of people I've seen been mocking them in like within the top 8 or having the Falcons select them, but I saw a trusted source on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but I know I've trusted them in the past. They've been right. Say that the Raiders won't select them at the Raiders, and everyone before will not select them at select Jalen Carter at 7. So that makes me think either the Falcons will or the Bears will. And then if not the Bears, I have no doubt that the Philadelphia Eagles will absolutely pull the trigger on it. So, Jalen Carter going to the Chicago Bears, there's not much explaining there. They could definitely still use it. Definitely, for sure. And who knows? Maybe they trade into the first round. I don't know, but they do need offensive line help very badly. So, 10, the Eagles. I've been doing this one. I think this is the second time that I've done it. I think the first time I did it was in my speed mock, but I've been thinking about this one a lot lately, and I this one makes a lot of sense to me. Peter Skoronski going to the Eagles, and when you give it a first glance, you're like, what? But it makes a lot of sense. Andre Dillard parting, Isaac Seumalo parting. Peter Skoronski can play tackle or guard. They love having that depth there. So I think that especially since they have a second, pick in here, adding a guy like Peter Skoronski, who was once thought of as the number 1 tackle in this class, I like that one a lot. So I think it makes a lot of sense too. I don't think I need to explain too much there. 11, the Tennessee Titans taking Paris Johnson. Yeah, I think this would be a wet dream. Excuse me if that's wrong, but a wet dream for the Tennessee Titans here. Paris Johnson, there's been, I don't know, and he is sliding up my board, but there's a lot of tackles now that are getting more buzz. I'm trying to think of the Tennessee. Am I even thinking right? Hold on. We're gonna figure out right now. Why can't I think of this guy's name? I hate when this happens to me. I swear I know what I'm talking about, you guys. It doesn't sound like it right now, but Darnell Wright. Gosh. Okay. Darnell Wright. I've heard that there's a lot of teams have Darnell Wright as their tackle 1. Which I don't even have him in the first round on this one. But I haven't watched enough tape on Darnell Wright, clearly, if he's tackle 1 on some boards. So, once I look into him a little bit more, maybe he slides up my boards. But for right now, Paris Johnson's number 1 for sure. So, I have Paris Johnson right there. Titans, I think, would love this. They need offensive line so bad. 12, the Texans, and I will keep mocking the Texans' defensive line. I think I've mocked Myles Murphy a good bit, actually. I will keep mocking that because the Houston Texans, man, they need wide receiver, but they need to fix that damn defense up. And, having D'Amico Ryans now as the head coach, I have no doubt that he'll spend, a pick on offense and a pick on defense too. He's not going to want to rock with that Houston Texans defense as is. Myles Murphy might be a little bit of a game changer here for him. He's got some really good production for Clemson. A little bit of a step down this past year, but not major. But yeah, I mean, the tape is very good. I like Myles Murphy a lot. Big, physical edge rusher that I think the Texans would like to have. The New York Jets selecting Broderick Jones. So this is one where I think it might. Oh my gosh, I just forgot Darnell Wright. This is one where I think it might flop with Broderick Jones and Darnell Wright. Excuse me, felt something in my throat. Yeah. I think Darnell Wright could easily go here. Broderick Jones, I've heard, is kind of starting to fall down a lot of people's boards, so maybe he even goes in the second from what I've heard. But I do like Broderick Jones a lot. I think he's probably one of the best pass protectors of this class. I think that the Jets would like to have that depending on what they're moving forward with. But if they do get Aaron Rodgers, I think Broderick Jones would still be a great pick. And then 14, we have a trade up. That is going to be the Detroit Lions trading up. They trade pick 18, a 2023 second, which is pick 48, and a 2024 fifth. And then I have the Patriots. Gosh, that is kind of hard to read. Sorry, guys. 2023 first, pick 14, obviously. and then trading a 2023 third, which is picked 76. So basically what I had going on here is that the Patriots are gaining a fifth. They're moving up pretty far into the second round, and I think that since it's only 4 picks, it's not in a crucial area, that the Lions getting a third back makes a lot of sense. I don't think the Lions would make this trade unless it's like that. But yeah, I think the Patriots wouldn't mind moving back. In fact, the Patriots, I probably have the hardest time mocking a player to, and I would not doubt it if they trade back here. So, yeah, so I have that trade happening, and then I have them taking Nolan Smith, who has bounced incredibly high on a lot of people's boards. Just absolute freak athlete. Just there's no question. He might be the most athletic defense player of this class. You might be able to argue Will Anderson for sure, but Nolan Smith, no, just as far as just pure testing, Nolan Smith in my opinion. But I mean, I think he ran a 4.36. I mean, that's just crazy, man. That's just crazy. So, yeah, Detroit Lions, move up a little bit. They drop around and lose a fifth, but overall, I mean, I think that's worth it. Getting a very solid edge rusher there to go with Aiden Hutchinson. So they now have the number 1 corner in the class, and then they now have the most athletic, maybe defensive player of the entire class too. So, excuse me. I think that one made a lot of sense. 15. From what I've heard, I'm trying to incorporate what I think teams will do a little bit more, because I feel like a lot of it's been my opinion, so I need to probably quit doing that so much. But I don't necessarily agree with this, but Jackson Smith-Njigba going to the Green Bay Packers. I'm not a big Jackson Smith-Njigba believer, but he did test very well. He is one of the top wide receiver prospects, and I do not hate him. I just am not as high as many on him. So, yeah. Jackson Smith-Njigba, they got that really physical receiver with Christian Watson. It seems like he broke out a little bit last year. So, heading into the season with Jordan Love, I think that they should give him a weapon, a very, very solid slot receiver weapon like that with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Very solid route running, stuff like that. That'd be a good thing for Jordan Love, a young QB in Jordan Love. So, 16, Devin Witherspoon going to the Commanders. If there's one corner that I felt like really fit the Commanders, it's just Devin Witherspoon. And more than any cornerback in this class. Yeah, I mean the Commanders. He's just a very physical corner that I think the Commanders would really love to have. St. Juste, they can move to the slot. The Commanders really can take almost any position, probably other than wide receiver here, and be okay. Maybe you'd exclude linebacker too, but I think that the secondary needs a lot of work. So, yeah, I like Devin Witherspoon a lot for them. Like I said, very, very physical corner that I think that would work very well in that defense. So I like that one a lot for the Commanders. Moving on to the next slide, we got Joey Porter Jr. going to the Steelers. Joey Porter Jr. tested out very well. He's got the biggest thing that you can give Joey Porter Jr. is he's probably got the most ideal frame of the entire class. And, he does have good tape, but he started to get almost overrated in my opinion. Almost very overrated. But overall, he's still a very good prospect. He's just raw. So maybe the Steelers really like that length. Maybe they like that upside, so select him at 17. It's not necessarily what I would do, but I could definitely see it happening. So, and then here's the Patriots moving back to number 18 where the Lions were, and I have them selecting Felix Anudike Uzama, who I'm super big on, from Kansas State. He's just, you talk about freak athletes, and there's so many in this class, but this guy's a freak athlete. Kansas State actually really only rushes 3 almost every single down. They rush 3, and Felix was able to get some pretty good production and some great tape usually getting double teamed because it's 5 against 3. There's just some amazing plays and a great bull rush, very strong. And I mean, like I said, just athletic. He's got a great closeout on the QB, which I do really like because a lot in today's game, you got a lot of scrambling QBs. So someone that's able to track him down fast, it's a good thing. So I think that the Patriots could definitely use some, this is a guy that can play a 3 technique for sure, obviously. He could also play an edge rusher role, but he's very versatile. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that this guy does not get more first round buzz. It's absolutely shocking to me. Like, if you watch the tape, not just the highlights, but the tape on this guy, I don't understand. So, people are mocking Keon White. Like, it just, sometimes the draft I love because everyone has differing opinions, and sometimes I'm just like, how are people this stupid? Number 19, the Buccaneers. I'm selecting Brian Branch. Yeah, Brian Branch could definitely go much, much higher than this. There's, zero doubt in my mind that could happen. But, I could see him falling down this low too, just because of positional value. Didn't test out super, super well. So yeah, Brian Branch didn't run the fastest, which is again why, everyone talks about Brian Branch's slot ability, but I really like Brian Branch as a safety. Nobody talks about how good of a safety he is. He flies to the ball, makes great tackles. I mean, reads the play. The main thing that I gave him, which I usually don't give elite grades on almost anything. Well, not almost anything. I have guys with elite grades in here, but elite grades on like attributes. I mean, but Brian Branch reads plays to an elite level. It almost makes me think that he's just a very hard worker, like watches film on teams and stuff like that, because it almost seemed like he knew what was happening before the play even happened on some of the things I was watching. So yeah, the Buccaneers, they lost Mike Edwards, I believe, to the Chiefs. And then I know Keon O'Neal, who they had signed elsewhere. So yeah, I think that Brian Branch, if you want him as a slot corner, he'll do great, but if you want him as a safety, he'll do great. So, I think that that play, there's been some rumblings about Hendon Hooker going here to them, but I don't see that. So Brian Branch, safety, from Alabama, very great pick, especially right here, 19 to the Buccaneers. 20, I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting my favorite guy in this draft, Isaiah Foskey. He has started to slowly get a little bit more first-round buzz, but yeah, I love this guy. I don't know if he'll go this high. This is more of an opinion of mine, rather than what I actually think the Seahawks will do, but they grab Anthony Richardson and Isaiah Foskey. Isaiah Foskey, I'll say it a million times, I'll say it again, is a Swiss Army knife. He's like a Micah Parsons, where you can play him at literal middle linebacker or outside linebacker or edge rusher or even a 3 technique. He doesn't do too well right there, but he still can, and he has been played there. So he can move all around. He's a very versatile player. He's extremely athletic, very strong. He's got some good size to him, so I love that. Jordan Addison going to the Chargers. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of this move. Adding some, Jordan Addison didn't run that fast, but I swear he looks much faster on film, and it would not surprise me if he just ends up, like, if that was just really, like, I don't know how to explain it. I think Jordan Addison is faster than he ran. Like, I really do. I know that might not make sense. Maybe it's just how he runs, but overall, I think the Chargers would love to have someone like that because they don't have a great speed overall. And even if you're just playing them in a slot role, Jordan Addison would be great for the Chargers in that air raid offense. So, yeah, I like Jordan Addison there. I'm not going to explain that one too much. So, yeah, I usually have the Ravens selecting a couple of guys here. I either have them taking a receiver or I either have them taking Bijan Robinson. I think I might have had them taking Jahmyr Gibbs once. But I like Osiris Torrance here. They've lost some players. They lost Ben Powers recently. Osiris Torrance, top guard in this class. Maybe this, and I mean, again, they're going to be like, oh, well, they're not getting a receiver from Lamar. I don't think from what's going on, I'm not too confident that Lamar will be there. I'm not too confident that he won't, but I think that they're going to draft what's best, at that pick at 22. And I think Osiris Torrance is. So yeah, it is still building an offensive line around the run game that they utilize a lot, and also around Lamar Jackson. I know it's not a weapon, but it still is doing a job that supports him very well, and Osiris Torrance will do that. So 23, the Vikings. Trenton Simpson, man, I don't see him mocked in the first round anymore. I don't get it. He's super athletic. I mean, just super. I love the plays that he makes, flies at the ball, makes tackles. It's pretty solid in pass coverage. I really like what I saw on his tape from Clemson. So, the Vikings, they let go of, can picture his face perfectly right now. Top linebacker in this league. Kendricks. Yeah, Eric Kendricks. And he went to the Chargers, so replace him with a young linebacker, I usually have corner going to them, but it kind of makes sense. They have Andrew Booth. They signed Byron Murphy, and then they got Lewis Seen from last year. Andrew Booth and Lewis Seen, both guys that are coming off of injury, so maybe they can bounce back and be good for them. 24, I have the Jaguars selecting Cam Smith. Cam Smith, he's my CB2 in this class. I'm huge on Cam Smith, and he's just starting recently to get back into the first round. It's crazy to me. He's got super good tape. He's very grabby, but he's a very aggressive corner. I love him in press. I love him in zone. I love him in man. But yeah, Cam Smith, very, very balanced corner. He's got great hips, which is probably the main thing that I look for in a corner. So yeah, I mean, I think the Jags would love to have Cam Smith. I think they would love to have Cam Smith here. But yeah, and this is why I hate having Cam Smith at 24 and Joey Porter at 17. But this is where it comes down to what I think teams might do, and I think that a team might do that. So, that's next slide. The Giants. I'm selecting Deonte Banks. Deonte Banks. I think Deonte Banks could go extremely higher than this from what I've been told. Deonte Banks tested very, very well, ran 4.3, just very fast, and then when I looked into his tape, I was very, very impressed with him. I think the Giants would love to have that speed. He's got decent size to add to that secondary, and they are in need of a corner. They are. So I think that they would like to have that on that defense. And then I have Bijan Robinson going to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not the biggest fan of this pick, but I think with how the board has fallen, the Cowboys have a very realistic chance of selecting him. I mean, he's, one, you're keeping him in Texas. Two, I think I saw a tweet very early in the year that Jerry Jones was very high on Bijan Robinson, really liked him. And then two, they let go of Ezekiel Elliott. This is exactly the kind of player that you want to replace him with. Just that bruiser, all-around back, and then have Pollard as, what they've used him before as a receiving back and outside zone run guy, So I like Bijan Robinson here for them, but I don't know how much I agree with the pick. 27, the Bills. Man, the Bills offensive line, man, doesn't get talked about. It's probably their biggest need. Their defense still, the edge rush isn't still quite there. But Anton Harrison, man, and this would be a great pick for the Bills at 27. They need tackle, they need guard. So yeah, Anton Harrison, tackle, put him on the right side. They need it. They need maybe more, probably one of the most needy teams for offensive line right now, and I don't know why that doesn't get talked about, but it's very true. 28, Kalijah Kancey. I've become a bigger fan of Kalijah Kancey. What I will say about him is that he definitely is a defensive lineman, but I think, and this is why I think the Saints will like him too, but I think he could be an edge rusher. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we saw how fast he was. Broke many records for defensive linemen, and that shows off on your get off on your first step. So I think that with that speed, that he could absolutely be an edge rusher. And I would really like to see him take some snaps in the NFL right there, see how he does. So I think the Saints would like that with their defense. They definitely need some defensive line pieces after losing Marcus Davenport, David Onyemata, guys like that. So Kalijah Kancey would be a good pick here for them. And then 29, the Bengals. I'm not a huge fan of tight end in the first round. I'm really not. But Dalton Kincaid, I watched film on somewhat recently, about a week and a half ago maybe. And Dalton Kincaid, very athletic tight end. He's the most athletic tight end that I've watched so far. And Bengals love guys like that. I mean, they just even showing their recent signing Irv Smith, who's very injury prone, which is why that I have them taking a tight end here. But they love Irv Smith. Hayden Hurst did very good for them. And then you look at Uzon, which is a little bit different of a tight end. But, Hayden Hurst and Irv Smith, it shows what kind of tight end they kind of look for. A little bit more of a speedy guy, probably. And that is what Dalton Kincaid is. And I really liked his tape. So I think that the Bengals would like to have him here. They could definitely go offensive line, though. 30, the Eagles, B.J. Ojulari. I haven't finished my film on B.J. Ojulari, but I've been hearing that he is a late first guy. A lot, and I was impressed with his speed. He had very good speed. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. I'm not 100% sure, but overall, I think that the Eagles would like to have something like this. They lost some edge rushers here, so B.J. Ojulari, this is a great guy with that speed to pair with Hassan Reddick and that new defense. So I think that the Eagles would like to have him here. 31, the Chiefs. Yeah, this one, Chiefs get mocked a receiver a lot, and they usually get mocked Zay Flowers. But I kind of disagree with that. They kind of have Sky Moore with that. I've mocked Zay Flowers to them before, and I kind of almost talked myself out of it. But Quentin Johnson, easily the best wide receiver one frame in the class. I'm a huge fan of him. There's a little bit of question about his contested catch ability, but he still has made some great catches where you don't expect him to make the catch. Overall, I'm a big Quentin Johnson guy. He's my wide receiver 2. And I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people in the NFL. I could be wrong. I could see why this guy busts. He's a boomer bust prospect, but I do believe in Quentin Johnson. And, after losing Juju, having a little bit of height there, Quentin Johnson, who's 6'4", I think the Chiefs would like that a lot. Pair with Kadarius Toney and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore and stuff like that. I think that the Chiefs would like that 6'4" size. Something that they usually don't have in that offense. So, I like Quentin Johnson for them. And then 32, the Dolphins selecting forfeited. He's really good. Very, very good prospect. But all jokes. Guys, that's going to be it for the video. Like I said, please go down and hit the subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and God bless.